Barcelona just made a very surprising move, a move that nobody expected. You know, while everybody's attention was on the big money transfer signings like Nico Williams, Deco was acting in the shadows. He was quietly looking to get Roony Bardghji, a 19-year-old from Copenhagen. The deal is nearly done, really, and it could really define a lot from this club future. I do not remember acting like this. Can somebody tell me where my club is at? Because this is some news. This is some news because it means we're pointed in the right direction. Whatever Deco you have been doing in the summer, keep doing it because it's working. So in today's video, we're going to be breaking down who is he, why now, and basically what does this mean for Lamine, for Nico Williams, and how does this player fit into Flick's plan. That and much more in today's video. Let's get right to it. What's going on, guys? ¿Cómo están? BugaLuis here. Welcome back to another video here on the channel. And this news is one that has already been sort of circulating around Twitter, making its round in the news, in the transfer mill for quite a few weeks now. But, you know, I was never really thinking that Barcelona were gonna budge. That Barcelona were really gonna, you know, just make the decision to actually go for a player like him. I thought that ultimately how we usually end up acting is looking for someone like an Ivan Perisic. That was a player that was normally rumored for us to go also in the summer. We were looking for a winger that could act in both wings, that had this versatility, and he had already played with Hansi Flick, and for me that was a no-brainer. You know, it was a no-brainer, a free transfer, but basically this is a free transfer as well. It seems that Barcelona were either going to sign the veteran player like Perisic, or we're trying to look for a hidden gem like this that is a low-cost option that could also fit in that role, in that mold, to just be that extra winger, that fourth or fifth choice winger if we needed. And, well, that is Roony Bardghji for us. Fabrizio Romano has already reported that the deal is in the final stages of agreement. The fee is going to be 2 million euros plus add-ons plus a sell-on clause. And it's basically, you know, a good deal because if we take a look at the market value of this player, is 7.5 million euros according to Transfer Market. But we know how expensive these youngsters can really be. I think that Barcelona basically what just did is look at the moment, look at the situation and bite the bullet because his contract is expiring at the end of this year. So basically Copenhagen is just cashing in. And I think it's a really no-brainer for us. And I think that good enough. You've gotten a player that has gotten already 84 first-team appearances in Copenhagen and 15 goals with that. That's good, you know, and I just really want to emphasize how cheap this is for a proven teenager at European level. Like, I remember I've seen him play against Manchester United and how he scored against them. Like, this is a player who has been there, done that, you know, and for someone this age, I think he has a little bit more experience than somebody very similar in his profile that was maybe Yusuf Demir when he came in not too long ago. He's now in Galatasaray, I think. But basically, this is a player that could really, if we treat him correctly, if he played enough good games with us, and I know that if Hansi Flick puts an arm around the shoulder of this player, I'm sure he's gonna, you know, grow exponentially. I feel that that's a guaranteed. So basically what I want to do now is break this player down. I want to talk a little bit about their strength, his weaknesses, you know, what you need to know about him. But first of all, let me know in the comments down below, what do you think of the actual transfer, of the actual deal, you know, the business part of the deal? You think it's a good move? Because I think it's excellent. It really is a no-brainer for Barça. And if we get a good talented player out of it, that then we can sell, like, I don't know, Trincao. I mean, Trincao we paid a lot of money for, you know, Bartomeu paid like 35 million euros for him plus add-ons. And here, Bardghji, it could be a player that we play in 2.5, and then we could sell him on for that amount of money, you know, for 35, 40 million euros. So I think it's a no-brainer. So like I said, let's discuss a little bit about what this player is all about. So he's a left-footed right winger, and I think he's being compared quite drastically to Messi. He's being called the Swedish Messi. I mean, basically every kid is being called that. It literally is where you're born plus Messi after it. But it really makes sense here because he has, I would say, elite close control when it comes to tight spaces. And when you really see him play, you can see how he glides past defenders. And I think that that's a really good attribute that he has to his game. And that is something that really you cannot teach that much. That's basically talent. That's basically something you are born with. You either have it or you don't. And I think that Bardghji here, he has it. When it comes to the off-ball movement, I think he's also very good. I think Copenhagen is a team that, from what I've seen in the Europa League last season, they're very structured, and his manager certainly has put a lot of emphasis on the off-the-ball movements from Bardghji, and maybe this is something why Hansi Flick and Deco particularly has taken a look at this player, a player who is able to find spaces intelligently, someone who is able to make runs, someone who constantly can be an output for a pass, for a through ball, for a cross, and someone who will, of course, also try to defend whenever we need to replegar, whenever we need to close spaces and defend ourselves. I think that there's a good aspect to him. And once again, I think that this is something why I'm very pro to this move, is that, well, he's 19, entering 20, and not everybody is going to be Lamine Yamal. Not everybody has that amount of, I would say, talent or intelligence at his age. So being 19, 20, it's a little bit older than when Demir joined Barcelona, and that gives you a little bit of experience that maybe players like that normally move to a big club do not have. So I think that this could be sort of like I'm thinking of like a Rodrigo, a Vinicius when they moved to Real Madrid. I think they're the best examples of players like this that have signed for a big club that we know that have plenty of potential. The money regardless, they know they're going to make it back. And at the end of the day, they grow to world-class players. I think that the problem here is that there clearly isn't a roadmap for him to just become a regular starter, because Lamine Yamal is there. Lamine Yamal is such a big player in our team. He's the best player in the world at the moment, if you ask me. So that is certainly going to be a little bit of a problem for him to get consistent minutes. But I mean, if you can get to play Copa del Rey games, if you're able to play regularly for Barça Athletic games and your managers are looking at you, I think there's no problem. I think that what I just mentioned, actually, playing for Barça Athletic wouldn't actually be good for him, because playing for Barça Athletic, they just got relegated to the 4th tier. So I don't think that would be a good level for him. Moving from European football down to there, I don't think he would agree to this movement if he was going to play in that league. So it probably means that he's going to be regularly playing or training with our first team. And that is where I want him to be. Another thing that is really good is that when it comes down to his finishing, or when he comes down to using his both feet, he's really strong on both. He's ambidiestro. That's how you say it in Spanish. He's unpredictable in front of goal because he's able to shoot with his left, able to cross with his right. Whatever he can do, he can do that, And like I mentioned before, when we were talking about Perisic, he has that versatility that I think the team wanted to look at. Someone who can play as a right winger, as a left winger, or even play centrally as a support striker. I think that Roony Bardghji really fits here any of those holes. And it will be interesting to know, actually, if his parents actually named him Rooney based on Wayne Rooney. I kind of want to know that. Can somebody let me know, and let me know his phone number so I can just text him quickly? But overall, like I said, work rates as well. I think he's not just a flair player. He really is good. Like I said, tracks back, he presses. And when it comes down to the speed and counters, he's always going to be a threat. He's not the fastest player out there. He's not the fastest winger. He's not somebody with the pace of Nico Williams. He's much more similar to Lamine Yamal in the sense that he has fast acceleration. He reminds me also of like, I'm making comparisons to Trincao because he's a player in a similar mold that came here to the Mir. And I think we're looking for this sort of player, someone like a Lamine Yamal that we can grow, a secondary Lamine Yamal, fast acceleration, can be dangerous in transitions when it comes to beating a man. And I think that that's where Rooney could be really, really good. But I'm just not going to base myself on this. I actually found a good analysis from a scout transfer market, an expert CUG, basically, that describes Roony Bardghji as a dynamic inside forward. And I think that that's basically what we need and what we're looking for, because Flick does operate most of the times with attack inside forwards. He compares him to Messi in the dribbling style and Kulusevski in the sense that he likes to cut inside and become a creator. So Kulusevski is a good comparison, not only because he's Swedish, but I think because Kulusevski, if you look at him, he's not really just a winger. Most of the time at Tottenham, the past few years, he has been playing as a cam, but as a number 10 who likes to drift inside, a little bit of a playmaker. And I think that that's where Rooney could also find a little bit of a space, being this wide playmaker and the drifting inside, sort of like what Lamine Yamal does in this team. It could really give us a player that is in that mold, because if Lamine Yamal is not in this team, we literally do not have a player that can do or replicate similarly something like him, someone that has the vision, the creativity, or the awareness of having or being alongside so many players marking him, being inside the midfield, being able to have the peripheral vision of players overrunning him in the far side. I think that we don't have that in this team. I mean, Pedri can do that. Frankie de Jong can do that, but they're midfielders. You know, as a winger, it's very hard to do that. So if we are able to develop a player like that, I think it's good. But you also have to remember, guys, that for me, he really needs for me to have a little bit of time and a little bit of patience from us, from the fans, because we're all expecting now, with the hype of Lamine Yamal, with the prospect of players like Fermin Lopez, that they just come in and go bang, you know, and explode like QRC, to go for every youngster and be, you know, world-class players. And Roony Bardghji might not just be that, you know, the first week, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth. It might take 1, 2, 3, 4 months. It might take even the entire season for even him to get a chance, a really consecutive chance of games to prove himself. And even he might not even get that at all. And if that happens, guys, you have to be patient for someone like him, you know? And that's just one of the weaknesses that I see with this move. There are, of course, other weaknesses. I feel that when we look at him, his height, he's not the strongest. He's not the most ruthless player physically. His aerial duels are quite poor, you know? He struggles physically in that part of the game. I think that in the box, once again, Barcelona has always had this, you know, this weakish players in set pieces were never going to be, you know, proper strong men. But this season we have changed a bit with Flick. But anyhow, that's a part that Bardghji is not being signed for. In terms of consistency, I've checked out his games, his recent performances, and when you take a look at it, it really seems that he can disappear for long stretches in games, and not even for just as individual game, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4 games. So it seems that consistency needs to happen for him to actually get good, and that may not occur at Barcelona. Also, his shot placement is very powerful. When you take a look at the goal that he scored against United, it's a very powerful goal, but it's not always accurate, you know. And Barcelona, I mean, it's good because maybe he will get a lot of chances in front of goal, but when you're a player that gets few minutes, I'm not pretty sure you're gonna get them, or that many. So you kind of want to be as accurate as possible, and your finishing has to be precise. However, the biggest and the most important weakness, guys, that you need to remember is his injury history. Very similar to other players that we've signed in the past, like Dani Olmo, like Pedri, who has gotten injured and have gotten a growing injury history with us. Roony Bardghji had a very big major knee injury in May of 2024. And yeah, he is currently injured again. Currently, at the moment as we speak, he's expected to return soon. But these injuries could really derail his progression, his involvement in the team, and his growth as a player. You know, he has a very high ceiling, like many players have had over the years. But the runway is very fragile. So we have to be careful. We have to take our time with this guy. Realistically, I think he should be used, you know, for rotations. If ever we get a player injured, like Lamine, let's say Lamine gets injured or Rafinha gets injured, let's hope they don't, touch wood. He could start getting more call-ups in the squad. I'm not sure he's going to be able to get called up every single game, but that's very debatable. That can happen on a week-on-week basis. We know maybe he could be the replacement for that Ansu Fati sort of player that doesn't get that many minutes. Who knows? When it comes also to other things that we need to take a look at, I certainly think that he could come in the Copa del Rey. He could play late subs. I mean, there are certainly openings for him to get that opportunity. But for me, the most important thing, like I said, is for us to manage the expectations of him. You know, the Messi comparisons that we already heard are a trap for every single player. You know, the Swedish Messi label is exciting, but it's unrealistic. I mean, he couldn't resemble Messi in dribbling style, in body shape, in the left-footed flair, but comparisons can be harmful. And let's just let him develop, you know, as Roony, as Bardghji, and not under pressure to be the savior of this team. I mean, the savior is already Lamine Yamal. We don't need two of them, do we? So in terms of my personal verdict, what do I think of this move? I think it's really good. I think it has some concerns, you know, the injury risk, the mismanagement between switching, you know, between the B team, between the first team, when he's going to get minutes. But overall, I think it's good because you are putting your stock on hold. You're not cashing out. In 1 year, you are waiting to see if he can develop. You know, it's a low risk with high upside. 2 million euros for a player that could be worth 5 times that when fit. It's really amazing. You know, low cost, potentially high resale value. It makes perfect sense for me. It makes perfect sense. Barcelona right now are stacking young talent for the next 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 years. And if it works, amazing. If it doesn't, you sell him, you give a little bit of that profit to Copenhagen, and everybody's happy. Everybody's happy. You don't spend that much, and certainly we're gonna recoup our 2 million. That's a given. You know, that player is already worth more than that. So, yeah, for me, it's a perfect signing. I really like it. So, guys, let me know in the comments down below if Roony Bardghji is the real deal, or if it's just going to be another overhyped YouTube wonderkid, you know, with highlights, or what could Roony Bardghji have been? Let me know in the comment box down below. And once again, if you want to see more breakdowns, more videos like this, remember to check out the playlist in the description down below, where I have content that gears you up for the next season, sort of like the preseason. And yeah, subscribe, see you in the next one, turn the bell notification icon, and see you. Bye bye.